Hello everyone, there you are. Good evening and welcome along to Neil Oliver Live on GB News TV and on radio. Coming up on the show this evening, we'll be joined by George Galloway and he'll give us his no-holds-barred take on the state of politics in Britain at the moment. We'll also be talking about politics across the Atlantic as we discuss Joe Biden's attempts to jail his potential election opponent and ask also about the future for Julian Assange. And we'll learn all about the truly remarkable discovery of a 127 million year old side-necked turtle fossil on the Isle of Wight. All of that, plus plenty of chat with my brilliant panellist, Andrew Eborn. But first, an update on the latest news from Ray Addison. OK, joining me tonight is the broadcaster and lawyer and futurist Andrew Eborn. Andrew, what do you think of what I just said?
I think it's a fascinating vision of the future. And I think you're right. Humanity needs humanity. I was at the tech conference this week, the AI Summit, where Rishi made his speech about how he wants to put UK at the front and centre of the new revolution, which is the technology revolution. And it was a combination of both the bleak and also the hopeful. Because PwC say that 300 million jobs are going to be lost to AI. But at the same time, it's going to contribute about 15 trillion to the economy. And you're going to work out, well, what are people going to do with all this leisure time?
As where's robots, that 15 trillion going to go?
Well, exactly, and who's going to get it? You're absolutely right. Because what the fear is that the big technology companies will get stronger and richer and so on and so forth, and the poorer will just continue to get poorer. But there's a combination. They're talking about sort of railing it all in and making sure you have the safeguards in place. And it was Stephen Hawking who said it's our greatest human achievement, AI, but also potentially the biggest existential threat. And you need to combine those sort of thoughts with it to make that make sense. But you're right about the whole essence of humanity, because we have the ability now to live forever. You talked about being uploaded into the cloud, where you can get a digital resurrection of yourself. And in the last few days, they talked about the Beatles, John Lennon's voice being synthesised so they can get that the relevant song out now, have yet another Beatles release. The reality is that holograms will be replacing human beings for part of our entertainment. It's happening already. We've got ABBA not too far from here doing the ABBA-verse, and you can go along and watch that wonderful performance that they do.
But is there anything about that, what seems to be the proposed potential future, that has the capacity to make any actual human being happy? I mean, you talk about being alive virtually, as though you could be uploaded as a consciousness. Is that alive in any way that means anything?
Well, two things, dealing with your question about happiness, because obviously it's very subjective. I think what technology is going to do is to eliminate the mundane. So you're talking about getting rid of repetitive tasks and so on and so forth to make that more efficient, which will give humans more leisure time. The question is, what will they do with that leisure time? And entertainment itself is being revolutionised. Seismic changes in entertainment. You can now beam things into your brain. It's scary stuff. You talk about I was down in Cannes, which I go regularly to launch new technology, and they have these 8K fantastic huge screens, 22.2 surround speakers. It is incredible. And I asked exactly that question, well, what next? And the next stage is they will beam things into your brain where you could effectively be shut off from the rest of the world, and you would live that particular moment.
I say leisure be damned in some ways. You know, the devil makes work for idle hands. Haven't we learned that much? This preoccupation with giving people empty time and nothing with which to fill it except video games and virtual reality.
No, you're absolutely right.
It's not life.
You need a purpose in life. And they do sort of turn around and say, look, people who retire at 60, they tend to die. Mortality rate goes through the roof if you don't have a purpose in life. So we need to make sure people continue to have a purpose.
Stay busy, that's what I say. That's it for this week. Thanks to all my guests. I'll see you same time next Saturday. Thank you, Andrew, for being with me.
Pleasure to see you.
Next up, it's Calvin Robinson and the Common Sense Crusade. Bring it on.